It didn't do it. Yeah, it did. Okay.
Welcome. This is the presentation at the 1:30 session for about first generation college students, facts, figures, and best practices. I am Dr. Lori English, and I will be your guide today. This is to give you an idea of who I am. And I am a member of the math faculty. I am a faculty fellow for the Center for Success. My favorite TV show is Law and Order SVU. Friends note how often they hear the theme song in the background when they call. And I love to play 42. So let me hear from in the chat from you guys about something interesting about yourself. Okay, thank you. Awesome. We've got all kinds of various folks listening to us here today. Mama 3 that loves to ride horses, someone that teaches British literature, um, all kinds of interesting people. All right, so why me? Why am I presenting? Did I just go out and choose this topic? The answer is no, I did not. I'm on the Across the Curriculum Committee, and Dr. Exley requested that one of our sessions be about first gen college students. And so I said, hey, I can do that. Now, why did I say that? Well, the guy in front of you, handsome though he was, is my dad. And he was a World War II veteran. He and my mother both survived the Depression and World War II. And when he left the Navy at the end of the war, he did not utilize his college bill and lived to regret it for the rest of his life. So, being the apple of his eye, he wanted nothing more than for me to go to college. And now, 3 degrees later, I wish he were here to see that and to see that his only granddaughter is 27 years old and has 2 degrees. So I feel like we have lived out his dream of having education embedded in our family. Are any of you in the audience first gen college grads? Okay, so far I have no answers, so I'm going to take that as a no, and we'll move on to the next slide. All right, now the definition of first gen means that your parents did not complete a 4-year college or university degree. My dad actually, if you look at that picture on the left, you see him operating with a slide rule. Because of the attack at Pearl Harbor, a lot of ships had to be built. And so when he enlisted in the Navy, his crew had to wait in San Diego until their ship was ready. And they had nothing for those sailors to do, so they put him in Redlands College, which was very near. So he had a little college experience, but not a degree. So that qualifies me as being a first gen college graduate. Okay, now remember this definition because we're going to talk about it more in just a minute. What are some characteristics that we see of first gen college attenders who anticipate being college graduates? A lot of them are older than their peers, many are female. There's a predominance of African American and Hispanics. 1/3 of them have dependents. Many attend classes part-time or they juggle classes and a job. The median income of their parents is low compared to uh, students that have college graduates in their family. The median income of their parents is $41,000. They are spread across ethnicities, although the African American and Hispanic is in the lead. Um, They are most likely to attend a community or 2-year college first, mainly because it's cheaper and closer to their home. And in 2021, the conservative estimates for the number of first gens was 4 million. Okay, let's move on and talk about the numbers. They're hard to measure. And in a world of education where we almost live and die by our numbers, I'm sure many of you are wondering, why is it so hard to measure? I wondered that myself, but I learned a lot preparing for this presentation. The definition of first-time college attender or first-time college graduate is a very slippery slope. The definition and the criteria can vary by institution, it can vary by state, and it can vary by a couple of other things. Another reason that it's hard to measure is that they are hard to track. There is, in Texas, we all know about the Apply Texas website where you can go and submit your application to any of the state schools. All right. In the rest of the country, there's something called a common application website that can go out to 1,000 or more colleges and universities with one application. But there is no criteria on either of those applications that where they would check that they are a first generation college student. The only way that it can be measured is by the question on there that asks the prospective students about their parents' level of education. And again, when that is from a large database, it is hard to get numbers. The population of first-time college attenders is ever increasing. The students are spread out nationwide. So I did my best in my due diligence to get good numbers for this presentation, but it is tricky. And sadly, we have no numbers that apply to ACC because, as Pat Sanger told me, it's just really hard to pull. However, in the nation, on the most recent survey, Texas is 5th in the nation in the number of first-time college attenders in our state. Okay, now here's a picture of the different states. The lighter colors show you that they don't have many, or they have smaller numbers of first gens, and the darker colors show you that they have the most first gens. Okay, moving on. So you can see Texas is very dark, California, Rhode Island, those are Arizona, those are the states that have the most. Okay, now let's consider these key facts. 56% of all post-secondary students in the US have parents who don't hold a bachelor's degree. Fewer first-time college graduates utilize any of the college preparatory programs that are offered. And our first-generation college students are more likely to come from low-income or minority homes and are likely to be parents, caregivers, or veterans or first-generation Americans. All right, let's go on to the next one. Many first gens are 30 or over. Less than half of them participate in anything extracurricular, and fewer of them hold leadership roles in the college setting. Okay, moving on. Now, what are their hurdles? The first one is imposter syndrome. And it was just very recently that I learned what imposter syndrome means. It means that you don't feel like you belong somewhere. you feel like you're left out, that there's a world going on around you that you don't understand. And many first gens report feeling that way. There is a hidden curriculum that they must navigate, and that hidden curriculum is the best examples I can give you is how to use the LMS. In other words, at our school, that would be Blackboard. How to access a learning platform, which would be MyMathLab or OLI or some of those things. Their parents are unable to add relevant support because their parents didn't go to college. Quick story about this. Since I was first gen, I started to A&M quickly after I graduated from Bryan High School. And one of the first classes I took, they hand out the syllabus, and in there it said, there's a comprehensive final exam. I didn't have a clue what that meant. So I go home and I asked my mom and dad, and they were like, well, how would we know? And I don't think I ever found out what a comprehensive final was until I was a junior in college. And then I realized, oh, that means it covers the whole semester. Dropout rate is larger comparatively to their peers who have parents with educations. More of them apply for loans and more of them default. There is a limited time for assignments, and many of them manage family outside of school. They avoid difficult measures. They typically have lower GPAs, and they may face breaks in their education. Some of us in the math department have talked about how a student, very regularly this happens, that a student will come to us and say, I took the class before this, but it was 20 years ago, and I don't remember what I learned. And so that break in education can be devastating when there is a prerequisite for a course. Okay, do y'all have any questions or comments while we are on this slide before we move on? Okay, one of our people that is attending the presentation in the chat agreed with the points, and she said she is a first gen and it took her 5 years. Oh, she took 5 years off before she finished her bachelor's. Wow, how hard is that? Okay, moving on. Now, what methodologies can we use in the classroom to help first gen attenders? Now, keep in mind, these help most every student, but these are specific things that first gens like to see. Okay. They like an inviting classroom culture. They really need an organized curriculum, the syllabus, the LMS, the presentations need to be clear, clean, and organized. They need to be encouraged to ask questions both in and out of class. They need us as faculty to share with them about campus resources and how to find those. They need us to answer our emails quickly. They need us to scaffold our learning, and I'm sure you all know what that means. And most importantly, they need real world connections to our curriculum. In other words, in a math course, they're going to need practical application of what they're learning. In English, they would need to know where they would use a certain method of writing or to write about things that are more real world. Okay. What ideas do y'all have about helping the first gens get through our courses? I need y'all to turn on your microphones and talk.
I guess I think about the same philosophy as I take with any of my students. Always working towards that positive environment, always showing grace, doing everything I can to help support them, and really just show them that ACC cares, that I care. Um, and really, the more you have that positive environment and that positive approach to everything they have, the more successful they're going to be in general, the more willing they're going to be to ask questions, to look for that support that they don't have as much at home as a first generation. At least that's just where my mind goes.
Thank you.
I want to say that, well, because I'm Mexican American, first generation, my parents are both immigrants. My mom had a high school diploma. My dad only made it to third grade in Mexico. I was lucky because my oldest sister graduated with a bachelor's in engineering. So she kind of set the bar. I'm the youngest of five. But being that we grew up in Chicago, immigrant neighborhood, everybody was pretty much immigrants, low income, all of that. I think just the students seeing me in the position I'm in, teaching, shows them that they can do it. Because I know when I was in school and I went to U of H Clear Lake, I didn't see anybody like me teaching me. I did feel like an outcast, like I didn't belong when I was a literature major. It just wasn't my environment. Like people would even ask, why am I not majoring in Spanish? I'm like, well, I already know the language. Why would I want to major in it? Things like that. And so I just think that and being transparent, telling them where it came from, shows them that, hey, they can do it too. Your past should not determine who you become in the end.
Okay, anyone else have a comment about how we can help them in our courses? Okay, let's move on. I may give you some time back here today. Okay, that is it for our presentation today. Thank you all for coming, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.